How to do your first real estate development deal with $0. How do you do that in a today when banks are literally tightening as we speak? Landowners, they're like sitting ducks with all their land around the country. Equity is also getting tight because it's trying to find some kind of yield. And construction costs are elevated. Even from COVID, they still have not came down because guess what? Inflation is eating everything. Welcome to Unfollow the Herd Podcast, where my mission is to give you the path to become the 1%. Guys, if you're ready to break free and unfollow the herd, then listen right now. Guys, I have a guest today with me that he's helping me scale luxury storage across the country. We're also, he has literally millions of dollars in real estate. He owns several businesses. He's done hundreds of different kinds of deals. Creatively, simple, actually nothing simple with this guy. So you'll learn that in this. But today I have Austin Peterson. Welcome to the show.
Marc, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
We got this done.
This has been
busy.
tough.
We're busy in life. We're both doing real estate development. We do it together. And man, we've been really busy, which we feel fortunate in these kind of economic times.
I think anytime you can be busy is good. When you can be busy right now and busy and profitable. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think when everyone else is sitting on their hands a little bit, real estate development, things ain't making sense, all the problems, hiccups to just sit and wait till interest rates come down, then everyone goes in. I get hundreds, thousands of people that reach out all the time, like literally, how are you actually getting things done when literally no one else is? How are you finding yield? How are you getting deals? What do you think? And we're so freaking busy right now. How do you think? Why? I mean, how is that even possible?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's because we're working harder than everyone. I don't think that's the answer. I think right now, you hit it on the head early. There's a lot of dormant land sitting out there. A lot of landowners that are sitting on land that originally they were like, hey, the broker's going to sell my land. I'm going to get $3, $4, $5 a square foot for this land. I think our product that we're putting out there with the luxury storage model is a perfect product for a lot of these land uses. So when you have dormant land that originally was easy to sell 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's not moving. Landowners are like, gosh, I need to do something. Guys like us are able to come in and we can structure a deal. We are getting the landowner paid. It might not be paid right away. Maybe the landowner's coming into the deal, but we're creative. I think that's the key right now is developers across the country that are being creative are getting deals done.
Yeah. I think you're 100% correct. I think you talk about these landowners. They all have I don't know who told me this, but they said, hey, the first one to go broke is usually the landowners.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a real estate developer and you're out just buying gobs of land, at some point, times change. And when you get left holding the bag with all the land, you go broke.
Absolutely.
Can't produce cash, can't sell it, can't do anything with it. You go bankrupt.
Absolutely.
So I think that there's obviously a big wealth explosion out of COVID. These baby boomers never had so much money in their life. All their land that was worth $100,000's worth millions, maybe in some cases. They have hidden equity in it. They're like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to structure deals. I don't know how to I don't know what to do with this other than call my broker and list it, and it sits on there. And I'm not going down in value because that dude's land's just sold for this amount. Absolutely. So I know it's worth it. It's appraising for it. And they just need guys to help them solve. But I think with all that wealth transfer, these guys are more willing than they've ever been. I think everyone's a little fearful, but let's develop it. Let's do something with it.
And I think brokers are more willing, right? I mean, there's a lot of real estate agents, brokers across the country, whether it's residential or commercial, that are doing part-time jobs right now. It's just the economy we're in. Yeah. And so, we're not, this land that we're looking at across the country, we're not looking to bypass the brokers by any stretch. I mean, we've cut deals right now that brokers are still getting their commissions, and they're coming in on certain deals. So it's not like we're saying, hey, thanks, broker, you had this land listed. We're going to work directly with the landowner. So I think that gets fun is when everyone is still winning. It's just a different way of winning because it's not like, hey, we're going to stick a yard sign out, we're going to sell the property, and we're going to write up an offer. Yeah. It's, hey, we're going to get to work and figure out how to unlock that equity and make some of these landowners short-time or long-time partners in some of these deals.
Yeah, I think someone told me this, but they said, my superpower is I see, a lot of people see problems, and I just figure out how do you find the solution. I like the challenge of that, and I think you do a very good job with that,
Appreciate
almost
that.
maybe better than I am. So if it's my superpower, it's your great you can find opportunity in anything.
It's never that bad, right?
Right.
It's the whole, when your back's against the wall, and again, I have stories. My life is full of adversary, events that have happened, and you have to figure out how to survive. And I think right now, I heard it the other day again for like the 100th time, survive till 25, and then what happens in 25? What's going to be the new tagline in 25? Right. You have to continue to thrive in the day, in the week, in the month you're currently in.
Yep.
You can't wait. Guys that are waiting for interest rates, guys that are waiting, you're going to always be waiting for something else.
Yeah. Because I guarantee you when those interest rates come down, they're only going to, you got to realize that they're only going to drop interest rates because the economy is starting to really suck. And now you're not going to have those end users who need the product that your real estate. They're not willing to pay as much for it. So again, 25, I think you're going to have plenty of problems in 25. Right. I don't even say 26 is where you're going to see actually an actual like uptick of interest rate reduction. Economy starts, I think if we go change the presidency, they're not going to print their way out of this like the current administration's going to. But that's kind of where my standpoint is at. But
the developers that are going to survive and be the the ones that are into the 2030s, 2040s are the ones that are dealing with legacy cash and legacy assets, and developers like us that are willing to be aggressive, to be upfront with landowners, to be upfront with everyone and say, this is the deal that we can present to you. Do you like it or not?
Yep.
And be willing to act on it.
Yeah. Well, you think of COVID days, cheap money.
Yep.
Everything is 5 times harder than it used to be. Literally. I mean, because you can't over leverage a project.
No.
There's not high enough yields. You can go high leverage. So you need to have, I'm using this word a lot, competitive advantage.
Oh yeah.
How are you going to competitively advantage? Are you cheaper? Are you finding equity really cheap? Are you, what is your competitive advantage? You have to have that as a developer, being vertically integrated. Is it management? Is it construction? Is it how you're putting the deal together? Maybe you have a private fund funding you. You have to have one of those advantages.
Correct.
Or all of them to get deals done.
Would you start a development company today if you didn't already have one right now?
No. I mean, geez. I would hit this company and I'd be like, this is a nightmare.
Right. I'd run. I'd be like, no. If we didn't have what we had going and we didn't have that knowledge, you just wouldn't get into the space. And so I think that's what's intriguing right now about what we're doing is there are not a lot of people jumping into the space. It's not like, there's a lot of people that say, hey, I want to be a developer. I want to do this. The cool thing about what we're doing is those people across the country that are reaching out to us that say, hey, I have land. I've always wanted to do this with land. I've thought about developing. We're actually bringing a lot of those individuals on as, I tell them all the time. I just talked to a guy in Texas, and if he's listening, he's going to know I'm talking about him. I told him, I said, you're going to get a PhD in development. By the time you're done with us, you're going to have a PhD in development. And he's a partner, right? He's going down. He has the land. He wants to manage a property for us, a luxury storage product for us down there. But he wouldn't ever do this alone.
Right.
And so I think that's the power. If we're wearing superhero capes today, I think that's one of our powers is we don't have the greed. We're willing to bring partners on and say, hey, we can't scale without you guys. This is what we're going to do. Here's our value.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you're like in your brain, you're like, wow, I like the luxury storage model. Maybe you don't know what it is. Put it in Google. One of my videos will pop up and explain to you exactly what we're doing. And maybe you're in Arizona, Idaho, wherever you're at, right? U.S. wide, you have some source for land, or you have a source. Maybe you just have capital. You just don't have know-how. There's plenty of different ways. We don't want brokers just sending us land to go buy it.
No.
Don't waste our time. Unfortunately, that doesn't help us. But if you're a broker that's willing to get gritty and help us connect dots locally, we need your support in those areas. So reach out to us. You can usually type in luxury storage. Literally on this one here, you can put in a comment. We'll reach out to you and see if maybe we can structure a deal in your state.
Yeah,
So,
I think you hit it on the head. If you're a broker that's sitting on some listings right now and you got a willing landowner, the things that we're looking for. I mean, I think we should talk luxury storage a little bit more in depth here.
Yeah.
But let's jump around. We're definitely want to have broker relationships across the country, right? That's kind of, really a lot of the people that I talk to.
Yep.
But if you have some listings that are dormant and landowners like, gosh, we got to do something, and it hits some of our core requirements, right? We like secondary markets a lot right now, right?
Yeah.
Because it fits the use of the product that we're building.
Correct.
We also like visibility. We need visibility. So if you're a broker out there sitting in, Arizona, Texas, somewhere in that Sun Belt, reach out.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I got this land. What do you guys think? And we'll vet it. And we vet it pretty quick.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We'll give you, we have criteria that we got to meet, and it's, we don't want to do deals that are 1 acre, 2 acre parcels. I mean, these are 5+ acre parcels, up to 10, 15 in some cases, depending upon the market. But we don't need to be in Austin. We don't want to be in Austin. That's not where our product works. We're not like a car wash, a gas station, or these multi-story self-storage facilities. We are a one-level luxury storage facility. We want to be where the businesses live, and where you can still get an affordable ground that, that has exposure to some traffic, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, maybe let's talk before we go deep into luxury storage. I'll leave them the cliffhanger, and we're going to go probably pretty deep in that subject, and we're going to go deep into some of the creative. How are we getting deals done when no one else is? And I shouldn't say anyone, but we're getting deals done, which is important to say. But I really want to know, like, who is Austin Peterson?
Yeah.
How did you get to this point in your life?
Absolutely. So North Dakota kid. What's fun is, now I live on the Minnesota side, wanted to experience some higher taxes. You're giving me a thumbs down right now. No, so beautiful wife, 3 beautiful kids, met my wife, in Grand Forks. So Marc and I, you and I used to live about 20 minutes from each other, 25 miles from each other in a small North Dakota town, Class B basketball. Didn't know each other though, really. No. Ended up moving to Grand Forks after graduation, North Dakota, and ended up working at a Lowe's right across the road. And it's funny, I remember my dad and I driving into town. It was coming off the small town, going into Grand Forks. I was going to find an apartment, find a place to work.
Oh, yeah.
And I applied at Lowe's because it was the first business right off the interstate. I mean, it was literally like, okay, I'll go there. Ended up working there. Fell in love with construction, fell in love with building materials, just kind of knew that. Got to know a manager at Lowe's who decided to introduce me to her daughter. And her daughter ends up turning into my wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's how that worked. I always joke around, and I wish I would have used the tagline when I met my future wife. Actually, my mother-in-law brought her into Lowe's and introduced me. I had 2 big old earrings in my ears working in lawn and garden. Do you remember those days? I've heard a rumor.
I have the holes. My girl's like putting earrings in still today.
Yeah, so I don't know what the thing was in the mid 2000s.
Eminem.
Yeah, you big old diamond earrings. So my mother-in-law introduces me. So anytime she's like upset with me, I'm like, hey, just remember you did this. Like, you created this. So I have 3 kids. We're on the Minnesota side. They go to school in a small little town, which I love because that's what I grew up in.
For sure. My
wife we did in another deal for probably another podcast, right? Another seller finance deal. My wife owns her company. She's in construction.
Okay.
So we were able to creatively finance her company. She's got a huge drywall company, probably one of the larger drywall companies in the area.
Cool.
But I've always been in love with business. I'm a college dropout. I went to college. I actually joined the Air Force. This is probably what you don't know about me. I enlisted in the Air Force at age 18. I was at the MEP Center, so that's your military enlistment center, and found out at MEPS that I had a heart defect. So I couldn't. So that was my whole plan, right? A
murmur, or like
a irregular heartbeat. So I didn't meet their requirements. They're like, hey, Air Force won't take you, but the Army guys are like, hey, we'll take you. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it kind of changed my whole life plan, because from the time I was 16, I was going to go Air Force. I was going to do this. It's funny how life works out, right? Marc, if I was going to tell you today, I'm sitting in your chair, doing a podcast with you, I'd say you're crazy. That's not how my life's going to turn out. I'm going to do this. And that's even how development works, right? You think you have a plan, you're going to stick a sign in your yard and you're going to sell your house, you're going to sell your business. It doesn't work that way all the time. So I've been involved in a lot of different businesses, a lot of startup companies.
Okay.
I thrive high stress. I mean, that's just who I am. I'm a high stress guy. I like having stuff going on, like being on, I serve on some nonprofits, some school boards, some church boards. I think you know me that way. If I don't have a list a mile long, I'm bored.
Okay.
And that's who I am.
Well, tell me, because your wife is newer to this business. I mean, she's owned it for a couple of years.
Couple of years.
And million miles a minute, I'll say, in development all the time. You're on boards. You have these other businesses. You have other real estate transactions happening. How do you guys get all that done and raise three kids?
I didn't say we get it all done, right?
Oh.
No, last night, I'm racing home to get home so we can get to a softball game that's, 50 miles away because nothing's close, in North Dakota or Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
You're always traveling. Organization. I mean, I say that good communication, and my wife's going to listen to this podcast and she's going to laugh at me when she says, good communication, because your spouse always says you're a poor communicator. Yeah. I try hard. I put everything as much as I can in Outlook calendar. When I have to schedule things with my wife in Outlook calendar. Hey, do you do that?
You not with my wife, but my life is on Outlook calendar.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
And if it doesn't live on there,
it doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen.
No, I have a thing on there every Thursday, 8 p.m. at night. It says clean vehicle. And it's just, I go out there for 15, 20 minutes and I clean my vehicle. And it's whether I have a couple papers in there, I just kind of reset. And it all lives in Outlook, and it has to.
Wow. So you use it personally, not just meetings and
no.
You literally live your life on there then.
It has to. Yeah. And I try to preach to my kids not to be addicted to your phone, but I've created that monster personally where I have to be on my phone because that's how I know what I'm supposed to do next. Yeah. And it's how we kind of survive. So
your wife and you are obviously very busy.
Yeah.
I think you guys, I see you guys take vacations. I honestly, you'll never hear me say work-life balance. I think you enjoy both together.
Oh, yeah.
What's some of your take? Have you have any hardship within you both being entrepreneurial?
I think, that's a really good question. I really promoted the idea to my wife. I'm going to tell you how this transaction happened real quick with my wife's company. And it's going to be
everyone would love to hear that.
So my wife was working as a project manager, construction manager for a really big drywall company, and she was really the company's number one, number two person from the organization standpoint. The current owner at the time didn't have an exit strategy, and he ended up getting injured actually, and he needed an exit strategy. So I knew some of this. My wife actually came home and said, "Hey, I'm going to put in my 2-week notice at work. I'm going to spend more time with the kids. I'm going to do something else." And I said, "Really? Like, why? Like, you love your job?" She's like, "Yeah, it's just I don't like the vision of the company right now because, the boss got injured. Yeah. This isn't the direction. There's no vision." And I said, "Well, have you talked to him about just buying it?" She's like, "Well, no." Well, so by the time she got home from work, I had already messaged him and I said, "Hey, we should meet. We should talk seller finance deal on buying out." And so she'd put in her 2 weeks, and about a week later, she's buying the company. And I don't know if she loves me or hates me to this point, but that's the creative side of it. Is she was literally willing to leave the job she loved because she didn't like the vision, didn't trust the plan, right? Didn't trust the process, and she wasn't willing to put her career on, in that limbo. And so instead, we took that out of the equation and we creatively purchased the company.
Right. Well, she wanted to stay home, and then you're like,
No, you're not staying home.
We're not doing it this easy.
No, I need a sugar mama.
Yeah. Hey, that's what us entrepreneurs always want. Sugar
You
mama.
need to get paid somehow.
Yeah. When I met my wife, she was making $12 an hour in marketing, and I was in college.
Sign up.
I was like, dang, she makes all this money.
She gets paid bi-weekly.
Yeah. My wife was my sugar mama till 21, and then I surpassed her pretty quick.
But it's how the mind works. And I think that as we're talking to individuals across the country, there's a lot of other people that think the same way we do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Creativity.
Well, I think it's not only good. Like my wife works in my business as well. I get asked all the time, how does that work? When does this happen? It happens. I mean, we live together and we're talking about work, and my wife, shut up, and that's just what we do every day, right? Yep. So that can be difficult. And I don't think that there's a good balance of it. We try not to talk about it at home as much, and we try to leave it at work. But I can't help myself to know if a storage unit rented. Like it's hard. That's where my life lives.
It's hard.
That's where my investors need to have me. So
it's hard. She runs complete operations of her company now. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah.
And it's surviving in this economy.
Right.
And it's really surviving because of relationships, right? Not only relationships that she acquired, but new relationships that she's has, and so she's doing well that way. But I think that as men, we sometimes, men and entrepreneurs, we sometimes forget that, the women that were currently our wives, they have additional needs too, and they need to be communicated. That's one of my weaknesses, right? I'm like, what do you mean I didn't tell you that? It's all the time, right? She's gonna message me later. She's gonna be like, "Hey, why didn't you answer your phone? Between 9 and 10." I'm like, "Didn't I tell you I was shooting a podcast?" And it's just like that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Is I think you see this. I communicate pretty well within our organization,
right?
But I probably need to communicate better with the ultimate person in my life, and I think we struggle with that just as entrepreneurs.
I do love my wife because I don't ever need to, I'll go on vacation. She'll text me once that, you good?
You good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or we'll FaceTime because of the kids, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all the kids. So my wife doesn't need a lot of extra communication, which I don't mind. But I mean, you definitely have to talk. Otherwise, the waves will separate and you don't want to deal with that.
At some point, you don't want to deal with it. Yeah, you want to be on the same page as much as possible.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's vision alignment for your family. Where do you want to be in 10 years? We talk about all that stuff. I don't know if you guys,
we've started talking about it more. I think that's, if I'm going to, put a failure list out there, that's probably one of my failures is we haven't started talking about it until the last couple of years, right? Because we've been now, our investments to date have really been focused on business investments. And we can talk about that a little bit. I have some intellectual property I own. I mean, that's a lot of my background is startup businesses, did some manufacturing, own some patents. It's just it's an interesting path that's gotten me to this chair today. So that's been where a lot of our investments have been. And now pushing forward, our goal for the next 10, 15 years is all asset-based investments, properties. And so, that's where the communication really has to start. And I wouldn't be here today without my wife just flat out supporting me, saying, hey, chase your dream, chase your vision. And so I do say that for anybody listening is find yourself a spouse that lets you chase your vision and sometimes keeps you grounded though too at the same time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We can get a little fiery.
Oh, I can get. I mean, I can chase some things.
Yeah.
But you need a wife that says, "Hey,
Stop
I believe in you." Or at the end of the day, sometimes it's just nice to have a slap on the ass from your spouse, right? Hey, good job.
Yeah.
I don't need much.
Yeah. You don't want to be really good at work and then suck at home.
Oh no.
And then or you don't want to suck at work and suck at home. That's the worst.
You say that again? Suck at both?
Yeah, right.
Are you still married?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's well, you know what I mean?
Marc, get off the couch.
Yeah.
You got to go do something today.
Can't suck at work and be good at home. You got to be good
it's a balance.
at work and you got to be good at home.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's, and I'm,
since we're talking relationships, and not necessarily with our wives and entrepreneurial life, but I think we've talked about this before. But you have business. We'll call it transactional environment, where you and I could talk 19 business deals, and we have 20 other friends that way. But then you move that over into the friends relationship. How do you find time for that? Spend time, you have to be, I feel like as an entrepreneur, or maybe every entrepreneur struggles with this, but you have to be very deliberate on making time for friends. Dinner on Wednesdays with different groups of people and having a drink with someone else, and you know what I mean? Like you have to be very deliberate and not always business oriented. Do you struggle with that, or do you find, you know where I'm going with this?
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah.
You know,
I think this will help maybe some of the audience. I think there's plenty of people with this.
I think, yeah, I look at some of my friend group. If I was to classify my friend group, it's probably in the age group of like 60 plus, right? It's my church crowd. It's my coffee drinking church crowd where I don't feel the need to talk real estate investments. I don't need to talk deals. We're talking farming. We're talking, you know, things that are just, you know, relatable to that crowd. I would say an entrepreneur, and maybe I don't know if I speak for you or not, the biggest struggle with an entrepreneur mindset, especially my mindset, is you feel like you have a lot of acquaintances, a lot of people you know. Phone book is full of people. Not all of them are what you would classify as your friends. They're all people that want to be with you or want something from you, and it is a transactional world.
Yeah.
So your friend group is tight. And I think that I've always been that guy that does, you know, I know everybody.
Yeah.
I can go anywhere around and I know people, but are they a transactional friend?
Yeah.
Or are they going to give you their shirt off the back, or are you going to give them your shirt off their back? And
Right.
it's interesting. You try not to create everything as a transaction,
Yeah.
but when you live in the world we live in, of creating transactions, you have to maintain some sort of healthy relationships. And I find my healthy relationships are usually in my church basement, talking to the old guys in the crowd and getting wiser.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
No, that's it, because they're at the end of their career.
Yep.
They don't really, Austin, what's going on in your life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they're like, whoa, we shouldn't have asked because it's too much. Yeah. We were just hoping to spray the crop this week, you know, and then, you know, our business life is very, very high volume, very fast.
If you were to try to explain what you do in a day to somebody that's outside of this world, you end up really, you know, confusing somebody.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Why would you do that? You know,
do you get paid?
Yeah.
Do you make any money?
Yeah. Don't you just buy an apartment and put 30% down and then just kind of sit on it for 10 years?
Right. Like, yeah. I'm like, hey, do you have 30%? Let's do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I was like, well, that happened. Yeah. You know,
that was when debt was cheap, when construction
2010, 2011, maybe.
It's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
Those deals are not there unless you have, I call it all the time, I call it legacy cash, right?
Yep.
Unless you have that legacy cash, those deals are not there.
Right.
The big guys are going to swoop in, but the world is full of a lot of individuals that want to create wealth through real estate.
Yep.
And they don't want to go through, the big guy, right?
Yep.
So they go through guys like us, or they do it on their own. 30% down, 40% down, that's not even, I mean, we've done pro formas lately. 40% down on some deals isn't, 50% down isn't even enough.
Yeah. It's not a leverage problem. It's a debt coverage ratio that
Correct.
the bank wants to see problem. It's how much cash on cash do you want? We ain't getting any cash on cash, to be honest.
Right.
2% would be great. If it meets the debt coverage ratio, better yet.
Correct.
So anyone that lives in the life of they're going to quit their job and go buy a house and live off the passive income. Bro, you can't live off $100 a month.
I saw,
and if the water heater goes out, you're really screwed. You're backwards for the year.
But I saw a Facebook reel, guys, the guys are doing it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just not the truth. But back to the relationships thing just a little bit. I think any entrepreneur, anyone busy, we'll call us young, mid-30s, handsome gentlemen that
I appreciate that.
Just try to live in the transaction life, but need to be very deliberate. Like if I think about someone more than twice, I'll just text them, say, hey,
So you mean
I don't want to be like,
so you're thinking about
gay
me.
about it. But
so you were thinking about me last night when you were texting?
No. I just, if I think about someone twice that I haven't reached out to, but you know what I mean? They've come up twice. I always feel like when things hit me, when I always see patterns.
Yeah.
If I hear someone's name 3 times, haven't reached out to them.
Do something.
Yeah, right. I got to reach out to them to say, hey, I just, I wasn't thinking about you in a gay form. I was just like, hey.
But if you were, you were.
Hope everything's well. Yeah. And now I try to do that even once a day. I just try to do one text on someone I haven't really communicated with a lot.
Be purposeful.
Because as soon as you lose communication with somebody, man, at this point in our lives, we're all busy.
Oh yeah.
You're busy with the kids, you're busy with soccer, you're busy anything in your life, you're working, and this is such an important piece because then in your 40s, your kids are getting older.
Yep.
You need to start savoring some of those relationships so you can do hobbies and
Do you have a hobbies? What's your hobby?
I golf.
Okay.
Like that legitimately, I feel like
That's your
golf. I like cars, but I don't. I
Right.
have too many cars, and I don't drive them all. I have one car I just drive to softball and back. I have one car I drive to golf and back. It should not be a thing. It's like you know what I mean? Like,
No,
just
but
get rid of all
you're
this
right.
shit. Let's live a middle. Yeah. So
You're right.
my wife would just fire sale everything if she could.
I love it.
But I think it's just more deliberate the better. But I mean everyone has a different tactic out there. I would tell anyone just to keep communications high as you can. I called my dad on Father's Day. He's like, you haven't called me in 4 months.
Oh
I was
man.
like, holy shit! I thought I called you last month.
How do you feel about this? I text my dad on Father's Day. Is that bad? I think he's probably, and I love my dad.
Yeah,
like
right.
I talk to my dad regularly, but I got to the point of I was busy and I just shoot him a text, and I know in the back of his mind he's like, "You should have called." And I should have, and I know in the back of my mind,
Send him this podcast.
I
And be
should
like,
have called. Dad, hey Dad, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I love you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Dad, this podcast.
Dad,
is all
I
for
actually
you.
went on this podcast to apologize.
Yeah, right. All right. Hey, we got it. We got it covered at least. Okay. Well, what's as we dive, we're gonna go into luxury storage, and a lot of people want to hear more on that. What's one of your biggest problems right now, whether it's business or personal?
Business problem that I have right now is wanting to do too much. And it's not, I wouldn't call that necessarily a problem, but it's how my mind works, right? I joke around. Well, one of our engineers, John Lowry, I'll plug him here today. So civil engineer. He says that he and I should get together and do development, and we'd be the ADHD developers, right? Like that's how it is, because his mind and mine are the same way, right? You just lose focus, you do this, but it's not losing focus, is you just get so excited. And that's who I am. And that's why I get excited about our partners calling us, and wanting to do deals, because I get excited for them, because I've experienced this success of what we're doing, and I want these guys to do it. So I'd say that's the biggest problem, is wanting to do too much.
How do you combat? How do you combat that?
Just work more. You didn't ask me what my hobby was.
What's your hobby?
I like to work. No, I just no. So I'd say that's one of my biggest battles business wise, and that's not a big battle. I mean, we have a solution for it. We scale. We hire people. We bring more people on. I mean, we have a solution right now for people that want to get into this market, and it's working. So that would be, I'd say that's the biggest battle.
Okay.
Which to me feels pretty good right now.
Yeah,
'cause that's not a big battle.
Yeah, well, you feel grateful to be busy.
Oh, I'm very fortunate.
As always, then you're moving in the right direction. Like for me, it's like I didn't get a deal done last quarter.
Right.
Just eats me alive
Oh, yeah?
more or less, because I just like pounding. I'd say within my construction company, 2023 sucked for most of us.
Right.
And because interest rates, were rising at the fastest rate that they've ever risen in history, and now they're just hovering there. And no one would say yes to anything. Everyone's like doom and gloom. Everything's going to zero. But let's hold on till interest rates go down.
Well, let's be
Why?
Well, let's be honest. It used to be, when it was just you working, or you and another guy working, you could figure it out, right? And my wife, the same way. I'm the same way. When you start scaling businesses, you start having mouths to feed. You start having there's a stress, and you want that momentum to carry. So when you talk about 23 quarter one of 23, you didn't cut a deal. Now we're looking at quarter two and the multiple deals. It makes up for it. But you like to have a deal every quarter, multiple deals every quarter, because it just makes guys like you and I, who are more or less looking at it as that's how we keep score.
Yeah.
I keep score that way. How many properties do I own? How many properties, did we close? How many? That's how I keep score.
Yeah.
I'm not always looking at it. Always. Not saying I don't look at it, but I'm not always looking at it as how much money did I make. I think we're beyond the money side of thing. It is now, though, how we're keeping scores. How many transactions did we close? How many people did we take care of? How many investors did we bring in?
Yeah.
it's a different way of keeping score.
Yeah, landowners, we could team up with them and change their life forever. I mean, it's like they've never owned real estate. They've never understood why you would ever want to own real estate or why someone should have it in their investments. Obviously, with all the content out there, real estate's getting kind of overblown a little bit. I think there's some, hey, get a deal done in 90 days. And then it's like, well, if you have zero equity, you probably could do that. You're going to be in an over-leveraged deal if you're by yourself. I feel like real estate is just this connecting of dots. It's all it is.
Absolutely.
You still need capital. Whether you do it for zero down out of your pocket, you still need capital. You still need someone to put together the deal.
Correct.
That's usually the hang up. The guys with capital don't have this resources to put everything together.
It's the toolbox.
Not typically.
It's the toolbox.
Yep.
And that's the nice part about us is we've created this toolbox.
Yep.
We have it.
And then there's operations.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. Like I can look at my 20 some odd LLCs and it's great, but there's a lot of operations behind that just to organize 4 different property managers from 4 different areas and portfolio management and keeping things tight because things aren't cash flowing. Like nothing's yielding 10% cash on cash.
Correct.
Across the board. They're just not
so you
happening.
really need to always have tight operations across the board. I mean, I always say it like this is, when you have the tight operations, you make money when it's really cash flowing, and you protect that money when it's not cash flowing as great, right? In a higher interest market that we're in right now, you got to watch everything. But if you're watching everything, if you have that back end operation set up, it's one of the things. If I have a weakness, I'm not an operations guy, right? I'm not. I'm a strategy vision guy, and I'm setting deals up. So you need these operations guys to to watch the deals, because again, if you're able to keep it together when it's at 8% interest, when that cash on cash return comes back and when everything comes back, we are making good money on these projects.
Absolutely. And here's where you come into operations. You got COVID. Mm-hmm. Anyone getting a deal done was making money. Operations was out the window.
Absolutely.
You didn't even need to have it.
No. You didn't have to have the business plan.
Right. Yeah. Just let's roll. Let's keep getting deals done.
Yeah.
Now everything is converted. Deals have slowed down. Everyone is focusing on operations. Maximize NOI, maximize our business value, whatever it is. Maximize, be lean and mean.
Yep.
And so that's where everyone's coming back to. And now people are finding yield again, I think, in 2024 here.
Absolutely.
And, and then there's those operations of, okay, we're still getting deals done. And as a developer, you still need to have the back-end operations, meaning you have 20 some odd LLCs.
Oh, yeah.
These are properties. Everyone has a business plan. And when we're doing luxury storage, it's not set it and forget it like a 5-year lease in an industrial building.
No.
You are literally analyzing every month. Do we need to reduce rents, dynamic pricing? It's like a hotel. You want to increase occupancy, but I don't need occupancy at 100. That means I'm not charging enough.
It's exactly
right.
So
it's a revenue model. And so there's such a need in operations. You have to be able to scale that as you're closing deals. That is honestly one of my weaknesses probably that I've gotten a lot better at the last 5 years, really focusing in operations and how to.
But that's what scaling. I mean, and I tell you what, it's being able to recognize that. And again, being in other businesses, you always think you can do everything, but then at some point, it's because sometimes you have to do everything during the initial scale. Can't afford, an operations guy. Can't afford this guy. But then at some point, you got to treat it like the business needs to be treated, and that's what I'm excited about the product that we've put together.
Yeah.
Is we have guys behind the scenes looking at that dynamic pricing in real time.
Yeah.
When you can real time price this out, and I mean, from the investor standpoint, how many investors right now across the country have money sitting in deals and they really don't know what's going on?
Yeah.
With us, we're up front with a lot of this stuff.
Right. My investors, when they come on, it's like every quarter.
Yes.
You can go do this yourself.
Absolutely.
And I'll there's videos you can watch. I show you exactly how to do it. But when you actually go do it, you're going to find a lot of other issues with that, which I may make a course on. So if you're interested into a course in real estate development or specifically storage development, put it in the comments below because I'd love to know what kind of demand is for that.
I think a podcast for another day for you and I is to truly talk about all the things we've failed at, because everyone sits on these podcasts and says, "Oh, I've done this." Yeah, but you should see the list of things I failed at.
Yeah.
Because it's long.
Yeah.
But those failures get you to the point you're at where you can actually be happy about the success. I mean,
Yeah.
they mold you into the person you're at. I mean, you have a couple failures. I mean, you failed at one or two things. I mean, I failed at one or two things, maybe 100 things. And it doesn't break you though. It shapes you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you let it break you, then it won.
Yeah.
Then those failures won.
Yeah. You're winning or learning, they say. And then we do a lot of learning in the business of real estate development. And, there's all these back end operations, which I'm always trying to evolve and innovate and find time to do it. And, that's, the failures, we could probably just go back and just make lists and then talk about each one.
Well, it's almost nauseating, right? To listen to the guys sometimes in the podcast guys that are like, look at me, I've done this. I want to know actually how you did that. Yes, I'm interested in knowing how you did that, but I want to know all the things you actually failed at.
Yeah.
Because what happens right now, and this is what's been fun, is, talking to investors and talking to landowners across the country or people that want to be developers like us, they think we have it all figured out. And I tell them flat out, we have a portion of it figured out. We are not the end all be all, but we're pretty damn good at what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we got good because of some of that failures, because they need to feel good about themselves because they've all had failures in their life, right? And if you're around people that you're holding up so high where like, oh, they never failed, it's a lie, right? Yeah. We've all failed.
Right.
We all fall short every day.
I think it's getting reps. You stay on the same path. You learn with these failures. Every deal has got its specific problems, right? And you need to be able to solve them head on quickly.
Yep.
Otherwise, the deal will drag on for years. And
absolutely.
Maybe people listen to this are like, I've
been part of that. Been trying to sell my land for 12 years.
Yeah, you got to know. You got to be upfront. Literally, investors will get on me the call. It's like, I don't have, I'm learning. Like, if I was perfect, I said I wouldn't be here.
Correct.
Offering you this. This is I'm continually improving myself though. Like
every day.
Honestly, I literally invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to get myself better, to offer my investors better investments and whatever it is. But it's like, I don't have the answer to every question. No. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. It's like,
and if you stop, if you're done learning, just stop. Be done. Get your boat or get your golf clubs and just go golf all day.
Yeah.
Because if you're done learning, I don't want to do business anymore with you.
Yeah. When are you going to retire?
I will never retire. I will work differently through different age years.
Yeah.
I don't know yet what that means. It sounded really good when that came out of my mouth, but I know for a fact that what I'm chasing in my late 30s is going to be different. When I turn 45, my life will look different than what I am today and when I'm 55. And you hope to live long enough to enjoy it all, so you have to continue to enjoy it in the moment you're in. Yeah. But I will never retire. Okay. I hear stories of guys that are cutting deals 70, 80 years old, 90 years old, still involved in business. I want to be kind of like that. Yeah. Don't know if it'll be real estate. Don't know what it'll be. Yeah. Maybe I'll go be a first generation farmer. Those farmers in the church basement are always convincing me. Yeah. But I don't have the mindset. I'm not working to retire. I'm working to continue to live and leave a legacy for my kids and for my family.
Cool. Oh, I like that. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot, and then Jeremy, and for your Father's Day gift to your dad, what does your life look like at 50?
So if you back up 4 or 5 years ago, my life at 50, I was going to be, all the kids were going to be out of the house. We had a COVID baby, if you will. So now in my 50s, I will still have I'll have my third still at home, or on her way to graduation. You know what? I hope at age 50, we have 60, 70 luxury storage projects across the country that we're actively doing. I think that storage model is poised to continue to rapidly grow for the next 15, 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. I think it's an underserved market. Maybe a career in politics. I think already know that, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the direction that I probably I like. I'm not a self-serving individual. I don't think I am. I don't feel I am, but I'm not afraid of some controversy. Yeah. I'm not afraid to go stick my neck out for a population. Yeah. Whether it's a church board or whether it's a school board. I like to serve. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see where the world brings.
Yeah. You definitely, that's an important part of development. Politics is,
You have to play the game a little bit.
You have to feed into it, which I hate, but
I know.
That's
why I like it so much is because you hate it. I'm willing to be your yin.
I was going to make Make America Great Again hat for this podcast, but I didn't do it.
Oh, no, probably upset all your Biden supporters, all your Biden fans.
Yeah,
that
I
watch
don't know
this
that
podcast.
I have a lot of Biden fans, but I wouldn't really care if I did, I guess.
My son told me.
I don't care what
my son told me a joke. This weekend he's 10. They like jokes. We're a humorous family, if you will.
Politics,
politics jokes. Yeah, the two things we love to joke about: politics and religion. No, I'm just joking. Things you don't talk. He's like, Dad. He said, "What's one thing Hunter Biden didn't get for Father's Day?" I'm like, I just kind of roll my eyes. I'm like, this is gonna be good, right?
The 10-year-old.
Yeah, the 10-year-old. And I'm like, what, Avery? What did he? He didn't get a laptop. So you got to enjoy the kid's humor, right? And
kept it PG.
Kept it PG, yeah.
Semi, yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's maybe roll into maybe where the luxury storage. I think more people want to hear about this model. How do they get involved? What are we looking for? How can they learn more? Maybe they want to do this themselves. How can we explain this a little bit, and how do we start with it?
Absolutely. I think for the most part, I think it's really understanding what luxury storage is. Have we trademarked that, by the way? Luxury, is that our name yet?
I don't know. I'm known as the luxury storage
guy
online.
I know you got two things you're known by, and that's one of them, the luxury storage.
Wait, what's the other?
Can we
save that? Let's save that to the end.
Okay, we're gonna save it. Don't let me forget it.
I am known for one of the.
Don't let me forget it.
Yeah.
I think that understanding what luxury storage is really helps people out. We're not a mini storage company, right? I think that we get calls all the time. Hey, we're not into that. That's not our market. That's not our class. We like luxury storage, oversized storage, business condos, business suites. That's really our sweet spot. I think for anybody listening, wanting to learn more information, we make it really easy for people to get a hold of us via email, via calls. We'll gladly set up a Teams call or jump on anything. But for the model, it's really easy to set a deal up. It's either you own land, you have access to capital to acquire land, and you want to come in. You kind of buy your way into the deal. And especially what we're finding, these individuals that have never done it before really like what we're doing is they're buying their way into the deal. We're the developer, but they're part of that development process. Mm-hmm. We're not basically saying, hey, thanks for your money and casting them away. We're making them part of that process. Mm-hmm. We have guys right now, I'm thinking of 6 or 7 different deals that we right now have going through some sort of land entitlement process. Yep. We don't have enough boots on the ground at Mac to be all across the country. So what better way is just to say, hey, your backyard. I was on a call the other day with a gentleman from the St. Louis area, and he's like, Austin, he's like, I believe in this land. And I'm like, okay, that's an emotional, decision. Yep. So then we plug that into our software, right? And what he was saying is accurate. It has the demographics. It has everything we're excited about with the land. So what we do is we go put that under LOI using his money, right? He's like, hey, I don't know the first thing about it, but I've seen your guys' podcast. I believe in the product. I want this in my area. Yep. So we say, hey, you go tie the land up with LOI. What we'll do is we then basically work alongside him to go through the due diligence period of that. And so we get our engineers involved. We tie the land up. We understand if the site is efficient. We're doing some of this in like 30, 40 days, right? You've seen some of the stuff coming across the table. Yep. Does the site work? Does it meet our model? Because we want to fail quick. We don't want to stretch this out, both for our time and even landowner time. Yep. We're going to say this is a good deal. If it's a good deal, then we basically set this up with the development, and these guys are coming in. Yep. And they're able to even source. If at the end of the day, if we're short cash, if Mac when Mac contributes cash to the deal, when the landowners contribute in the end, we're probably still short. Mm-hmm. What better way is, the guy in the local community is calling out to his 3 or 4 buddies that have also said, man, this would be great. Yep. But none of them are doing it on their own because they don't understand the model well enough.
Right.
So they get that cash, and now all of a sudden you got another chunk of money into the development. The development grows, and they own a portion of it.
Yep. And it's really like most people don't understand how to structure. They don't understand
all
development.
it is.
And we have honed in. I've done multifamily. We've done all sorts of townhome stuff and whatever. We've honed in this I guess funnel, you could say, to where luxury storage is at the bottom. We are literally rinsing and repeating the same model where these landowners are getting equity. We're building out these beautiful facilities. We're able to keep them nationwide. We're able to roll these things up. Talk about an exit strategy that's 5 to 6 years, where instead of them just selling a one-off property, which will net you decent money, we're going to roll these up into a $100 million portfolio and dump them even more money into a private equity source.
Absolutely.
So you got to not only think when you're doing luxury storage, and again, if you don't know what luxury storage is, we didn't talk about it in depth. Go and watch one of luxury storage videos. We have lots of them out there. I'm not going to go in depth on what the product is. It's a storage product. I believe that everyone should have. If you just have multifamily, you should be curious about having some exposure to storage. Storage I love because it does good in good times and it does good in bad times. And it's very, very steady. And that's because people downsize in bad economies to luxury storage units, which are actually a poor man's condo shop.
Absolutely.
And they upgrade, in good times. And the people get moved from their garage and they move their business into a luxury storage model that's still affordable. But how we're different is it's an industrial product that basically you can pay with your credit card and it's a 30-day lease. You're not it's for the people moving their business from their garage to a facility, and maybe they want to expand, take the next bay, whatever, if it's available. And that's where we're getting a lot of this, interest and demand and people copying us around the country because I'm telling them exactly what this is. And I think that this type of product is very underserved.
Oh, yeah.
It works very good in secondary markets. I don't want to be in freaking downtown Dallas. It's not where we want to live.
Nope.
It's not where our clientele lives anyway. I'm not a luxury car storage for cars.
We don't
I'm
have.
not that community.
We might have the one Ferrari in one of our units. We don't have 30 Ferraris in our units, right? We're not the car club.
Yeah.
Our model does not support $12 square foot land.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't. We're a secondary market, and so it's understanding what we are, right? And that's the best part, is getting on some of these development calls with some potential land guys and just flat out saying, this is the model. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we move on. And so that's knowing. I mean, so we've recognized that and we've perfected, I'd say, or pretty damn close perfected what that model is.
Right. And just to be clear, like we're talking about this, and if you're interested, again, lay in the comments, luxury storage. We'll have someone reach out to you with a link where you can fill out our form to maybe partner with us, and then gives us a little time to vet, where Austin and I can jump on the phone and talk about maybe this is right for your community. Obviously, we got to plug in our metrics to see if it is, and we make it very easy for us to partner. But we're not looking for a college kid to come to us unless you got literally a capital or you're a very good operator, or you know how to structure deals, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't need brokers sending us deals. I don't need college kids sending us deals. It's like I need to have some level of sophistication, and you got to have one of those three things, a good ability in order for us to move forward. So just want to be clear on that, because there's some confusion.
There'll still be brokers that send us.
Yeah, we get hundreds of calls of people wanting to send us a piece of land that their family owned for 100 years and they want to sell it to us. I thank you, but no thank you, I guess, unless you're looking to be in the deal.
Right.
So anyway, kind of going through the model. And we have investors. Like we offer this to investors as well.
Absolutely.
It's like you don't have to partner with us. That's just an option we get asked a lot. So we've opened it up. And we're doing this in Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, Arizona, North Dakota, South Dakota, Midwest, whatever.
Yep, Minnesota.
Anywhere. So we love having Midwest and Sunbelt markets. I think there's good cash flow. There's good appreciation. You can go through that whole controversy if you want.
Well, it seems like what we get, and you've probably talked about this in some of your numerous podcasts, the South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota projects are really good performing projects. But the investors locally love to invest in the Texas,
Oh God,
Arizona, Florida. Those could actually be poor performing projects. But man, I'm in Texas now, or I'm in Florida now, and those guys, those investors, those local to us, right?
Yep.
The farmers I talked to in the church basement, right? They like investing in Florida.
The grass is not always greener
No.
somewhere else, and that's really the concept that you get there. I get Florida guys sending money up here. I get Dakota guys sending money down there. And it's fine. And maybe it's a diversification. Maybe you're over-invested in this area, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying the grass is always greener and that's how your mind's working. But yeah, you can go check it in the winter, so it's kind of nice.
It is. That's what I'm getting at. Is that's what they like. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be in that area, so I'm gonna check it.
And so be it, right? Like,
Yep.
and maybe they have all this farmland here. They don't need to be exposed to this market. They would
Correct.
rather own something somewhere else. So there is some fun in that as well.
The ultimate flex, though, let's be honest. It's the ultimate flex is just driving by something you own in another state.
Oh yeah,
That's the flex. Hey kids, your mom and dad, we own 0.03% of that. You don't ever tell your kids in the back seat how much actually you own. You just say, hey, mom and dad, yeah, we own a part of that.
We own part of that. Yeah. And that's fun.
It is fun.
Why should people own real estate? Because you own businesses, you own real estate, you own all this stuff. Like,
yeah.
Why would you own real estate?
I like real estate's going to be there in the end, right? It's always there. I can see it. That's why I personally love real estate. I can see it. It's not, there's going to be years where it's not the greatest return, but it's still there. You know me, I'm a big single family guy. I like single family houses.
Yeah.
I like houses, but I love storage more. I've learned to love storage more, I should say. It's because it's still sticky. The tenant rights, we own multifamily together. We own some of that stuff together. You have less tenant right rules with storage. You get some of these individuals that don't pay their bill. I love our model for this, and this is the plug I'm going to do to the max storage model. Is it's all automated, key fob access. If they don't pay their bill, they get locked out. Mm-hmm. There's assets inside that's our luxury storage, whether it's jet skis, whether it's boats, motorcycles, inventory, whatever it is. It's not your mini storage. There's no storage wars. There's not a bunch of mattresses and random furniture in our units. There's assets in our units.
Yeah.
Those people are paying their bills.
Yeah. Different tenant quality.
It's a great tenant quality. In some of the single family rentals and some of the multifamily rentals, if they don't pay their bill, you just have to wait longer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a model that I really like with the storage.
Yeah. Well, here's the knock. What I get online of our storage model versus a mini storage model, right? Mini storage model can take 3 years to stabilize typically. Our models stabilize much faster with a higher tenant quality. But here's why I don't mix 5x5s and 10x10s with larger storage units. Like I said, we might have a guy with a Ferrari. We might have a guy with a high-end business.
Yep.
That is just where it's his home base. He's not hanging his business there and it's a retail front. These are just storage units, but they're heated. They have a couple lights and an outlet.
Absolutely.
You can work out of there. But these 5x5s and 10x10s, they can just create, those are your, I'm sorry for my language, but those are your shithead tenants. Like,
yeah, they can be.
They're freaking, that's the riffraff. They left their, efficiency apartment for $400 a month.
At midnight.
Or got kicked out.
At midnight, usually.
And then they crammed all their shit into a 5x5 at 12:05.
It's the stuff that didn't fit in their car got into the storage.
Yep. They scanned their credit card. They got in the unit.
Yep.
Now they're like, shit, I'm broke. So maybe I can go steal some shit around this area and stuff some more shit in here so I can sell it. And hopefully,
you're playing the percentage game. It's not all of them. That there's definitely a percentage of them, and you deal with more cash customers. I've dealt with this. You deal with more guys that are trying to track you down. Like they don't have a credit card or their Chime card expired, and now hey, use this card instead. It's a different tenant relationship, landlord, and we, Mac, that's just not our model, and so we like that more. It's a Class A property. Yep. Will we have riffraff? You can't always control it. You will always have the one-offs.
Yeah.
But you're lowering your percentage and protecting the investors.
Yeah. You don't have a $25 unit or renting for $1 for the first month, and that it creates lower tenant qualities, which that's why we don't mix them, because I always get, I can make more on a 5x5 unit because the cost per square foot's $250 instead of $1 on a big unit. Okay, well, great.
Yeah.
But the problem is now you've created all this chaos with these 5x5s.
Calculate your admin time on sometimes just chasing down that money to get paid.
Right. Yeah. If it's not automated and they're locked out, it's honestly a hassle. So that's one of the main reasons I do not mix it. But I think what we do at our sites, not every site, but the larger sites, we make a home where our tenants can come into sometimes an unclimate controlled, so a non-luxury storage unit. We have like a phase of life that someone can move from their garage to a non-heated unit. Call it a 18 by 40.
Yep. So what's it have? It has an overhead door and a service door, or just an overhead?
Yeah, overhead door, service door.
Yep.
Maybe an outlet if we're feeling like that's what we need, and a light. We'll call it unheated. Well, we're in the Dakotas. It's freaking cold up here.
Yeah, I've rented for the first 3 months during the summer. Now I'm probably calling Mac and saying, "Hey, I want it heated."
Yep. And then September, like everyone's trying to find somewhere to store something because we have winter for we got summer, which is basically July, and then everything else is winter.
Construction season. Yeah.
and so that's what's happening up here. But people they have nice things. They have nice boats. They have nice, maybe it's business stuff, whatever. Yeah, but then they graduate. Then they're like, damn, my business is taking off. This home base is great, but it's like, I'm sick of freezing my ass off all winter in this. I have
inventory.
So I want one of those heated units. Okay, well, we got those. So we'll move you into the next phase.
Absolutely.
And then we got condo shops, which we will get them in the final phase where they actually have bathrooms. They can build it. They have a small retail front. Absolutely. And I think that's where we really create communities of contractors, service companies, whatever.
Well, it's a whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
Of storage.
And you can move your whole business through the cycle of our storage units.
We have a lot
of serve everyone.
Yeah, we have a lot of individuals that are renting business suites that are then renting. They grow out of their business suite, but that's their address, right? That's their business address. So when they grow out of that, they're renting some heated storage from us.
Yep.
It's nice, and it's on site.
Yeah, because we're not going to let you park things all over.
No.
We're not, we have strict regulations when we go to cities. We can't be, you can obscure the vision and do high fences and all of that, but we're not letting you park all over the freaking place.
Yeah, you can. What's our rule? You can only have 3 Camaro IROC Zs parked out front.
No, you can't even park outside. You have to lease a storage unit to have your extra parking in, because then we get tenants. So,
There's
you
rules.
have to be strict, because if you're going to if I have my Ferrari and I'm like, I go to this storage unit and like, that contractor's got crap all over.
Yep.
That guy parks there. He's working all day here. We have some restrictions that you can't be doing that.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Your home base in the morning and you stop by, fine.
Yeah, you're not going to be renting. If you're, we're not taking care of our overall clientele if we don't enforce those rules.
Yeah,
the rules are there.
Yeah,
to keep.
I want a clean facility. We want an institutional quality. We talk to family offices. We know what they're looking for. They want automation, minimal management,
and clean,
and they want it clean.
Yeah, clean.
And they want it nice. And if you can meet those requirements, man, you got yourself a really good asset. And guess what? They also make really good money. Of all the 20-some LLCs I look, every time my asset management, always the minimal amount of effort and luxury storage.
Absolutely.
And it always makes the most money.
So you asked me why I like property, why I love real estate. You just nailed it. I mean, it's you can invest in, and I invest in a lot of things. I try to refer to myself as a mutual fund, right? You kind of have your business, you have your funds, you have all this stuff. Real estate, to me, is the best course of large transactional money down the road. If you don't, especially if you're like looking at it, and I don't always look at it as what's the cash flow. That's probably one of my weaknesses is I'm not always like, oh, it's cash flow, because I have some of those other businesses that are supporting. But real estate is the answer when you're looking for, 1031 opportunities down the road, or looking at other actionable. Like if I gave you $50,000 right now and said you got an option, right? Go buy a boat, let's go fishing this weekend, or park it in real estate. There's a large pocket of people that are saying, where are we fishing?
Yeah.
Where in that boat that we bought for $50,000 is worth $33,000 next year, $40,000. It's just the way it works. Or you take
finance that for 20 years. Yeah. Pay $118 a month for the rest of our lives.
Or we buying two.
Whatever.
We get in the Mac boat. Or you put it in real estate and forget about it and have a taxable event or a transactional event, I should say, down the road, and let people like us help you with that, right? So you are that 50,000 is appreciating, and you're getting some depreciation. And our model is, we didn't create the model, right? The model's been there. I will say we're perfecting the model with the storage.
Yeah. I keep it simple.
Simple.
Yeah.
Like-
And that's why I love storage. It's boring to talk about.
Oh, it's not sexy at
How-
all.
how-
We've
yeah.
actually
if you're
made
still listening to this, and you're still intrigued about storage, honestly, the most boring model you could ever describe.
Yeah, we're not building skyscrapers. We're not building mixed use,
No.
condo flats, office space.
Yeah, there's
But
no concerts here. There shouldn't be.
But there might have been two. No,
There might, yeah. Someone has their drum set in one.
but I think you hit it earlier. It's like this asset is underserved. The space is underserved. If you wanted 100,000 square feet right now, industrial, you probably get it all day long, right? You can go to some of these primary markets, get it. If you wanted mini storage, probably find mini storage.
Yep.
It's that middle class, asset that, whether it's storage shops, whether it's heated storage, whether it's shop condos, whether you want to own your condo. We don't really talk about that. Some of these we're selling. Some of these condos we're selling on site, and some we're renting. So I think it fits that model. It's the industrial flex.
Yep.
It's smaller spaces that fit the need.
Yeah. There's, like I said, we have talked about this whole time. It's not like we talked about there's RVs and boats and all these.
Yeah.
I haven't even mentioned that one time.
No.
I'm not building RV and boat storage.
No.
It's not what we're doing.
No.
Those guys aren't willing to pay enough to live in a luxury storage unit. No. Some are, but there's one Ferrari for 50 units. It's not 30 bays of that, and then a couple of business. This is 80% small business served.
Absolutely.
Serving the people who really need it. They got to get out of their garage and they can put it on a credit card and roll and keep going.
It's the backbone of America, and I'm a small business guy, and I'll plug it again. It is truly what we need to do as a country is continue to promote small business, and our model promotes small business,
Right?
Because it's allowing the landscaper, the electrician, the plumber, the massage therapist in some cases, just to work outside of their home and get into space that they can afford.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Well, I think we've kind of ran through. And again, interested in parting, leave a comment. Interested in investing, maccapitalgf.com. You can invest in these assets that we're doing and across the country. And we don't always have an investment open, but if you are interested in keeping up with us, I would tell you to go there and talk to one of our guys there. I think I'm going to try to wrap up a little bit on what, let's talk a little bit of creative structures.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where we're finding opportunity and where others are still hung up by everything. They can't meet debt coverage ratios. They don't have a competitive advantage. Some of that stuff, talk me through how you're creatively just putting one of these deals together. Pick a deal.
So I think it starts with our partners. Before anything, it starts with our partners. So we have our civil guys. I refer to them as our partners, right?
Yep.
Because we're sending them right now deal after deal, and they're running through it, and they're telling us, hey, this site is efficient. Here's your grading plan. Here's how many sites, because they know our model, right? They know what we want on this site. And they're the ones. So it's not ever an emotional decision for you and I. We never fall in love with land.
No.
Or you try not to. You don't
Don't
fall in love with land. You
don't
treat
do
it
that.
as does this work? Does this not work?
Yeah.
And we let the engineers essentially dictate how efficient is this property. Then, but before we get there, somebody's reaching out to us, right? We get somebody from Florida saying, "Hey, I have this piece. I own this piece. I've maybe he's had a couple offers on it that have fallen apart." That's usually like, if I was to tell you what's going on right now,
Yeah.
I'm getting that call, after the second or third offer,
Okay.
where the land's been tied up, somebody's had it through due diligence for 120 days, and day 40 from closing, they're walking away, right? Landowners pissed. Like, people are just pissed. Brokers pissed. Everyone's pissed because, again, they saw, broker saw his commission, right? Landowner saw his payday, that he was gonna do something with.
Yeah.
So we're getting that call because they're like, it's interrupting their LinkedIn feeds, right? Right now, all of a sudden, who's this Mac company? Or somebody's like, hey, reach out to Mac. So we get that call,
Yep.
and they want to know, like, what's the catch? man, I'm flat out, like, there is no catch. We're not buying your land, though. Like, this is truly how these deals are working. At 3.5% interest, your land would have sold.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be having this conversation, and or we would have bought your land.
Yep.
Somebody would have bought your land.
Yep.
But it's not selling right now, and that's a problem, right?
Yep.
We're trying to create a solution. Here's our solution: is we go to the landowner and or the broker, and I'm like, what do you want for that? What's your land listed for? Okay, it's listed for $1 million. Great. We look at past appraisals. We justify the $1 million. I flat out tell the landowner, what if I could get you 1.2, 1.1, And they're like, well, why would you overpay? Well, you're coming into the deal, buddy. Like, you're coming in. This is what we're doing.
Yep.
You're going to come into the deal. You're going to be a partner. I said, we're going to take care of the broker on the deal. Like, everyone's going to come in. It's the whole marshmallow. Do you want one marshmallow now or the whole bag later? I'm going to tell the landowner, I can get you what you want, but it's going to take a little bit more time. And so they come into the deal. We get it under contract. We run it through the efficiencies, see if the land actually supports our model of storage. And then we take let's say we need $3 million of debt, to really run this deal. And Mac Capital puts $1 million in, and they're putting $1 million in of land value. Now you're 2/3 of the way there on your equity needed. The other $1 million is coming from other investors.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking at it and saying, well, shoot, they own 1/3 of the deal. There's a guarantee to buy. A lot of these deals, we're essentially setting it up saying, hey, there's a couple exit. And every deal has its own exit ramp because every landowner has their own need.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are like, hey, if this performs the way your other projects work, I'm in for the duration. Just figure out how to pay my broker, so he's not
sure.
calling, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Some of these landowners want to stay in because they're looking at it as, well, I own 1/3 of this land, or I own 1/3 of an $8 or $10 million property.
Yep.
That's what they're chasing. So they like that. Some landowners are like, I just want to be bought out, by year 5.
Yep.
So we give them that option. It's, again, every deal's its own entity.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have an operating agreement and some terms to that, and we would agree to buy that landowner out after a certain off-ramp. We have to get through stabilization. And that's the education on a lot of these landowners, is the same reason you're not selling your land is the same reason we're not buying it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy right now.
Right.
But we can take a problem and here's the solution.
Yep. I think, let's go back. Okay, that's awesome. I think that should lay the puzzle of land to anyone listening to this. But I think going now into the competitive advantage standpoint of, why wouldn't someone just go do this themselves? Maybe they have background in development for a REIT, or maybe they're just a contractor, and they're like, I don't know anything about development. I just work for developers. What's because now you're to the point of, okay, we got the landowner in, now we have to entitle it, now we have to do the civil work, and we kind of already done light civil work. How do we add the competitive advantage? Why would someone talk to us versus just go do it themselves?
How many people have you talked to in the last 2 years that have told you I can just do that myself? And how many of them go do it?
Right.
They
just don't end up getting it.
They don't. The amount of energy it takes, just going in through jurisdictional work. We're dealing with a delineated wetland right now on a project that our team is dealing with the Army Corps. Most people are not going to go deal with the Army Corps to figure out wetlands.
Yeah.
So that's where, we're a full-scale development and construction company that most people, when they get an obstacle, they'll deal with that first obstacle.
Yep.
Second, third obstacle, they're like, hell, this isn't worth it. This is just not. Let's do something. Let's just stick a for sale sign in the yard.
Yeah, let someone else deal with it.
That's what it boils down to.
I would say the developers listening to this, they're like, that we got to do that every day. That's a normal activity for us.
Correct.
And then if you don't, like I think a competitive advantage is, like, I've been a contractor my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times we've heard you use the word value engineering or
make it cheaper.
Yeah, make it cheaper. Even for developers I still work for, it's like, I'm trying, without literally going to zero. I don't know how to help you, but I do have a very good understanding of this is, we work direct. Like some people will go do the civil plan. Some guy that owns the land, he's like, I'm going to do a storage project.
Yep.
I'm going to, Lowry's going to draw it out or whatever. Civil engineer's going to draw it out. I'm going to get the architect to draw it all up. Then I'm going to give it to a contractor and it's going to be, Austin, these numbers just don't work.
I wonder why.
You need to get a contractor literally from the moment the civil guys got it. You should be having your contractor. And it's a constant back and forth. We talk this at our pre-construction team all the time. It's like, don't bring us in later.
No.
We're going to throw your plans away that you probably paid $150,000 for. And we're going to start over because these are not going to pencil out for you. You got to have a developer mindset because things have to provide yield. You have to find, it has to make sense on paper, penciling.
Absolutely.
Not everyone's paying cash for everything. How do you afford to do that?
Where those guys need to call us.
Yeah, we're just gonna pay cash. So
I got a deal for you.
Yeah. And so it is so important. That's really the value. Like we're involved from structuring the deal to value engineering and finding the civil deal to the architect to literally operations.
All the way.
And you have to have someone that has experience in that. If not, I guarantee you're gonna draft all this stuff and you'll be like, this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You got to save
have 50-80% down.
Yeah, you got to save as many points along the way, right? Because every one of those activities is a I call it a basis of points loser, right? So your civil guy. Are you paying your civil guy $25,000, $30,000 right now to drop a set of plans, or do you have a civil guy that you have a relationship with that's willing to look at deals the way we're looking at deals on our scale?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to save as much as you can along the way to protect your cash now. Yeah. And I mean, we do, again, let's just say we're looking at 10 deals right now. We know 7 to 8 of those aren't going anywhere, but we have the scaling. Like that's what we're doing, right? At Mac is we have 10 deals per quarter minimum right now. Yeah. And we fully know 8 of those aren't going to make it through land entitlement.
Yeah.
It's either going to be land is too expensive, landowner won't budge, not an efficient site, not enough visibility. There's a core reason. Too many left-hand turns to the site, right? I mean, there's a whole laundry list of reasons we're going to say no to that. So what's nice if just regular investors are listening to this right now still, we're not saying, again, it goes back, we don't fall in love with land.
Yeah. One of my biggest mistakes as a developer, I'm going to tell you, and this is like 6 years ago, literally, and falling in love with land. I think like the engineers have to be willing to work at risk with you to make sure these projects come alive because it'll kill you. I'm going to tell you exactly how one of my deals, I did a deal in Minnesota, lovely state, just not to develop in, too much regulation and people that work there, it's thick. Anyway, right outside like $1 billion company, it's in the front yard. How could you lose money in this, in my opinion?
Right.
Bought it, right. I think actually I bought it. I had it under contract 2019. I think I closed right at COVID.
Yeah, perfect time.
I crap myself because it was like everything was doom and gloom, and I still closed.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm
with a face
either
mask
the biggest idiot or
you closed with a face mask on.
Oh my god, yeah. I think I closed with the mask on. Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, and I was like, how do you lose in this deal? Went through a big mixed use building, was going to suit all these needs for this big, corporation in that town. Small town though.
Yeah.
And had to get a TIF passed. And
absolutely.
I signed a deal where I didn't know. I just didn't know. I went from townhomes to like this 93 unit mixed use facility that was going to be like $20-some million. And I was like, I'm going to do it.
Hell yeah.
Like I'm going 10X.
Why not?
Yeah. Holy shit. This ended up being, architect fees and everything was $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of pocket.
Yeah. Before while I was doing entitlements, I had to have the drawings done because I had to have everything done.
Because TIF approval, they want all this stuff prior to making approvals.
Right. Yeah. Renderings. I spent
everything.
$20,000 on a video. I had everything written and I was working with a really hard city who was not pro development at all.
Right.
And trying to explain to them that, hey, you got this really big company, you need to support them. And anyway, I ended up getting a TIF done. Lots of legwork. I ended up getting these plans. I'm like, bro, why are you doing any of this? I sent it to the contractors and like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Have you ever done multifamily? It's like, well, not to the scale, but
That's what the architect
he's
told
like,
me to do.
he's like,
yeah.
so all those plumbing plans, all those mechanical plans, all those electrical plans, throw those away.
Yep.
You are not going to be happy with any of that. The civil plan is okay. Still, this all sucks in it.
Yeah.
I was on the hook for, I paid those. I mean, I had to settle at like $500,000,
It's painful.
and I threw away all the all the plans are in the garbage today.
So how's the project performing today?
It's bare land, and I'm selling it, and I probably have $1 million into this land, and not even including all my time, and I'm going to recapture, maybe I might recapture 3/4 of my money, but it was such a eye-opening, and I made so many mistakes, and I didn't know it. I thought that's how you did it, because that's how people were telling me how you did it. Man, that costed me a lot. But that was one of my biggest mistakes, because people get very, like I said, the farmer might say, hey, I got this piece of land. I had all the drawings done. Here, Mr. Contractor, go build this.
Yep.
Bro, I'm going to tell you right now, those ain't going to, it didn't work. You did
Correct.
it. You did the wrong process. You listened to the wrong podcast. You should have listened to this one.
Yes. It
And
changed,
you got to get us contractors involved.
but it changed that project that you did. It changed your trajectory and your outlook on how you do your process.
Yeah.
It didn't bury you. Some guys, that would have buried them.
Right.
That would have been the last thing they ever did, and they would have went. And now some guy, they're going to go be a manager at Costco.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
So if there's any managers at Costco listening, I'm not knocking that. It's a great job. But it just changes the trajectory for a lot of people. Most guys can't bounce back from that type of loss. But it changed your outlook on how your process and how our process is. And it's getting partners that are willing to look at the amount of jobs we're doing, fully knowing that a good portion of those are not going to hit.
Yeah.
But when the ones hit, they're in them.
Right. Yeah. I done hundreds of deals now since then. And it was just, that was a big learning curve. I almost probably went, I did a build to rent townhome model and went too big and just didn't have the right mentor.
Yep.
Didn't have the right advice coming my way. Was trying to do development because everything was on the up and up and the interest rates were cheap. And then it was the dumbest thing I ever could have done, honestly. So anyway,
It happens.
not all deals work. And I got emotionally tied to it because my time was so connected to it. You can do that. Try to cut out the emotions. That's what we're telling you. Not every deal is going to go.
They can't go.
And
if every deal would go, there'd be no more land left.
right. So anyway, that's as you evolve, that's you learn and how you get here. But I got one last question for you.
Yeah. Has it already been 3 hours?
Well, we're on hour 30. Yeah, hour 3. We try to end these.
It's our radiothon.
Yeah. We could do our own. We could do this podcast live every Monday if you want to.
We'll let the viewers decide.
Yeah. Do you want to hear stuff of our problems and mistakes every Monday? Because we could
both,
come.
We both have a face for radio, though.
Yeah. Well, I think by Sunday we're texting each other like, "Oh my gosh, what a disaster! This is a disaster." And then by Monday we get most of the problems solved.
Oh yeah.
Not all of them, but if you want to hear that, maybe put in the comment section what you want to see from Austin and Marc. What's one of your biggest fears?
One of my biggest fears is being a disappointment to my kids. Is not so much a disappointment like, oh, dad sucks. Like I suck all the time when I hold them accountable, right? I mean, I find a notebook, of my 10-year-olds and it's like, dad's a jackass written in it, and like in his like 9-year-old handwriting. So I don't worry about that, but I want to be, a guy that my kids look at and say, man, he held us accountable. A dad that my kids say he held us accountable, helped us through things. I want to be a husband that my wife doesn't ever say, man, should have married somebody else. I think it's the fear is I'm my own worst critic, right? So I'm hard on myself all the time. And I think most entrepreneurs and most people are very hard on themselves. My biggest fear is missing the boat on one of those items, right? Is not being the guy that I was supposed to be to my wife, or not being the husband, or being the dad that I was supposed to be to my kids. It's not work. It has nothing to do with work. I know, like, I feel like do pretty good at work. I feel like I miss the boat on the other ones. And so my fear basically aligns with the current.
Yeah.
And so it's really just focusing on that, for the next, duration of my life.
Yeah. Oh, I like that, dude. That's good. That's it's always an important one to think of as an entrepreneur for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big one. My third, I'll stay on that real quick. My third child was not an unexpected child.
Yeah, we had a COVID baby too.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got a lot of 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds running around.
And so you have this, so you have this COVID baby, and it came after, my wife's probably going to crucify me for saying, came after a miscarriage. COVID baby, I have this special, I was a young dad with my other two. Right.
Yeah.
And so, your mid-20s, you don't really know how to be a dad when you're 23 years old, 24 years old. I'm not saying I know how to be a dad at 37 years old, but I feel I'm a better dad at 37 with my 2-year-old than I ever was when my other kids were 2. Yeah. And whether that's financial stability, just life, you're just smarter, wiser, a lot more church basement visits, right? With the old guys that teach you some wisdom.
Yeah.
But that 3-year-old kind of put things in, she's almost 3, has put things in, a lot of perspective for me. It's like, that's why I work, right? Mm-hmm. I think that you probably are the same way. I work my butt off for them.
Yeah.
And the fear is working your butt off and having them feel like it wasn't good enough.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're watching, I'm going to make them watch this.
Yeah, they should. They should. I have my children on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I learn things about them, like, which I love.
What's your biggest fear?
Oh, thank you for putting that on me. My biggest fear is, what is the second thing that you were going to tell me that you knew about me? That's probably my biggest fear right now.
For me saying that on live TV or live podcast?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You said there was a second thing that you knew about me or something. I think we sold them our first superpower or something.
Well, so we have a joke. Obviously, you have to have these fun conversations all the time, right? Like, when you Google luxury storage and your face comes up, I think that's hilarious. I love it, right? And I think that we talk to investors all the time across the country, and one of my biggest things are developers across the country, landowners. I'm like, well, how do you hear it? How do you find out about us? And the joke internally is that they found us because of your OnlyFans account.
Yeah. So we'll just call it the Dakotas, pretty conservative states, or very conservative states.
The most conservative.
Yeah, I would say I stick out a little bit like a sore thumb up in the Dakotas because there's not a lot of guys shooting content, doing what I'm doing. I don't do it because I love it. I honestly, it's like sometimes I dread looking at a camera all day, but I know that it helps a lot of people. And it is in 10 years how every kid consumes reels, content, whatever, that's how our age, they listen to podcasts.
Absolutely.
This is how we get information now very quickly. We learn more in this podcast than we would have learned Googling what development is. And we got into the mistakes and the parts you learn. So I think, my OnlyFans page is my LinkedIn, and I don't have good toe pics on there.
Yeah, that's the joke. That's the joke.
I should start an OnlyFans and
I just want to know
monthly subscribers, and then just put luxury storage.
I just want to know, who's requesting the feet pics.
Yeah, I just, my toes aren't, like, my dad blessed me with these weird toes.
Like, are they connected toes?
No, they're not connected. You might have to subscribe. Or how do you do it on OnlyFans? Does anyone actually know? I don't know. Do you subscribe to that?
I don't.
You should subscribe to YouTube and this channel if you like what you're hearing, and share it with somebody.
If you're an OnlyFans, no. This is what we need. If we have somebody listening that is on OnlyFans or knows more about OnlyFans, reach out to Marc. Get him educated on how OnlyFans works. Because I think it's more than feet pics. What's that?
I'm not helping with that.
Yeah, Jen's behind the scenes. She's like, I'm not helping. Feet pics.
I think it's more than feet.
It's more than feet?
That's the rumor.
All right.
But I don't know. I think,
I don't know that I'd be very good at OnlyFans.
I don't think that anybody
That
wants
see
to
that was my biggest fear though. Getting back to your answering your question, I knew you were gonna.
But there's a genre for everyone. So you got that guy in Tennessee that's literally like waiting to subscribe to.
So you tell
like,
these partners
request.
too when you get on the phone with them that my OnlyFans page.
Oh, I mean, it takes.
Yeah, that's where the politics come out of you.
Yeah, it takes a certain part. Like you got to warm the crowd up and then know if they're gonna like enjoy that or not. Like, oh, geez, you know.
Is he really on OnlyFans? Is that it's like, frowned upon? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it just depends.
I know you don't want your daughter on OnlyFans. So
You definitely don't want your son viewing OnlyFans or your daughter selling content on OnlyFans. I guess. So let's go back to
So
the
you're
fear.
monetizing it.
Yes. So I've changed my fear. That is my fear. I do not want my daughters on OnlyFans. That's my new fear. You just unlocked a new fear of mine.
My fear was you telling everybody that. So I'm not on OnlyFans currently. I don't know how to monetize it. I know this podcast will probably make like $1.48 on YouTube. So we can split that. I don't know how we do that.
We should put that into our next development deal.
$1.48. It took me a year and a half just to be able to withdraw money from YouTube.
It's interesting.
It's
setup.
$100 I've made.
That's pretty cool.
105, I think. So
Keep going.
Yeah, maybe OnlyFans I can make 105 in like a month.
Oh yeah, with those feet.
God. All right, moving on. Okay, well there you go. So we're pretty transparent on this as well. So
You have to have fun.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of fun. And I think you have to. We work hard, but we try to have a lot of fun besides. I always ask everyone this last question, and if you ever made it to the end of one of my podcasts, you know what it is. So what does Unfollow the Herd mean to you?
I think sticking out. It's not being, you can look at it many different ways. Some people call it being a sheep. I'm not a sheep. I've stuck my neck out on a lot of things, and for me, it's going to be continue to stick my neck out. So I'm going to continue to unfollow the herd and be my own person.
Let's go, man.
Let's go.
Appreciate you having us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, buddy.